kind of live, a little live, sort of live. And we're live. We did it. We are streaming live across every platform on the internet. Just kidding, across 5, because I won't upgrade my Restream subscription, no matter how many times they prompt me. But that does mean YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. So if you're watching us anywhere there, love to have you. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to come hang out with us in the Zoom room where all the masterminding happens, head over to dailysigh.ai, sign up for free, hang out for free, stick around for free. But you got to bring the fire. You have to bring value. You have to participate in the conversation. Before we get there, I have some news to share, y'all. The first one I've already reported on, but when I reported on it, I really didn't understand the implications, and so this is a bit of a repeat. Google acquires Wiz for $32 billion. This is a TechCrunch article. This is Google Cloud's largest acquisition ever. And the thing that I should have said that I didn't really get to until later is we need to be watching some of these acquisition signals because what we're watching is brute force consolidation. There's going to be brute force consolidation in every, not just digital market, but every major market. Oddly, strangely, my girlfriend works in the trades space. She does marketing specifically for people, painters, general contractors, trades. And it's crazy because private equity is as active in the trades now as they used to be in the agency space 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I think it's because they're running out of shit to buy. And so what I'm saying is this trickles all the way down top to bottom. And when Google buys something like Wiz, your vendor slate, your vendor landscape just shrank, right? Now you have AWS, Azure, and Google. And that ends up being a big problem for small businesses on a long enough timeline because the monopolistic behavior of some of these entities has already been seen. Look at Google Ads as an example. So I think it's worth, number one, keeping an eye on. Number two, diversifying yourself outside of those tools if and when you can, which may be something we talk about on the mastermind today. Second story from Morning Brew. CRM providers shift focus to workflow automation AI. AI and CRMs is moving away from general chat to, quote, next action assistance to summarize notes, draft content, and automate specific sales steps. Here's what's freaking crazy, y'all. If you really look at it, this happened. ClickUp's doing it too. It's not just CRMs. It's CRMs, project management tools, customer support, help desks. They're attempting to outrun their own obsolescence, and in so doing, they're actually bringing in some pretty interesting feature sets. But what it also means is, in a weird way, they're starting to compete with their own customers. So keep a really close eye on what your CRM does and what your project management tools do, because in this kind of strange, idiosyncratic, like none of us can believe this is happening, twist of fate, they're actually automating the tasks that you do. How long until they go direct to market? My guess is not long at all. Story number 3 from the SBA. SBA finalizes new rule banning foreign national loans. Effective in 30 days, foreign nationals and non-citizens, including lawful permanent residents, are barred from federal loan programs. This is why this is so important. I realize the green card holders make up a minority of the population, but they actually make up a really significant percentage of SBA lendees. The SBA has to lend. They have a mandate, especially some of these SBA-approved banks. That's where they make all their money. This is important for small business owners. If you have access to SBA money, y'all, go get it. Go get it. And what they let you buy is amazing. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody on this call is probably smarter than me. Here's what my understanding. You can borrow up to $5 million per business line. So I could buy 5 plumbing companies for $1 million each, or 10 for $500,000. Once I've reached that $5 million cap, I get to move on to a separate business line and borrow another $5 million as long as it's not related to the same business line. And I can borrow an unlimited amount of money, assuming that my credit worthiness allows for that. But because it's backed by a commodity, by a real asset, not a commodity. You'd be surprised at how much more you can get. A buddy of mine just did this. I did a hard money loan for a really good friend of mine. He wanted to get in the truck hauling business. I lent him money on his first truck. He ended up in the second truck. He went to the SBA per my recommendation and was able to get enough money from the SBA. I'm charging him 15%. The other company, I'm a good friend, aren't I? The other company's charging him 20. He gets enough money out of the SBA where he can buy 2 more trucks for a fleet of 4. These are $200,000 a piece. And his payment is less than he was paying me and the other company. So he gets twice the trucks for like 70% of the cost. And now he's in a business that, you want to talk about things that survive AI. So one thing I'd love to do, I tried to do this last year on my birthday. I launched a private incubator, and I tried to get a bunch of people in the room, and I tried to get all of us to talk about how we buy these businesses. It went nowhere. It was an epic waste of time, which is my fault. But I'm still interested in that. So if you're watching this and you have any interest, I'd love to figure out how we go and get these businesses. I want septic tank companies, grease trap cleaning companies, concrete repair companies, things with a little bit of infrastructure. I don't want something where somebody can go to Home Depot and the next day say they are that. So no landscapers, painters, or handymen. But man, this SBA money, I think this is friendly money. And because we have a conservative regime, they're going to lean towards small business before they lean towards anything like social wellness programs or whatever we're supposed to call them now. Next story from Reddit. AI coding assistants increasing security vulnerabilities. Duh. A new study suggests developers using AI tools may be creating 58% more security holes by reproducing malicious codes from public data. This is obvious. You know, check your work, y'all. You could build an AI tool that vets all your AI output, and even that's not enough. Just be careful. I'm a huge proponent and fan of vibe coding. I've seen real impact. In two of our businesses, we've rebuilt our tech infrastructure from the ground up. My business partner, Yvonne Boonen, did it for Pareto Talent in like 2 weeks. We replaced a myriad of tools, our CRM, Airtable, our billing software. Like, it's amazing what you can do. And be careful. Backup stories from Reddit. 94% of product hunt launches fail. That's not a shocker. The Adobe CEO is resigning. I don't care. South by Southwest pitch winners see high acquisition rate. Makes sense. They're already vetted. Supreme Court opened doors for tariff refunds. If you're a merchant and you're importing stuff, this could be pretty big for you depending on how much you import. And then SBA's migration to advanced visual automation. Growing businesses are ditching basic DIY platforms for tools like NADN and custom Python. Yeah, we know that too. All right, that's it for all the stories. This is the Daily Sigh. You can get the Daily Sigh delivered directly to your inbox by going to dailysigh.ai. And now, what has become my favorite part of the day, to be honest with you, is our mastermind. Y'all, nobody can solve these problems by themselves. And so we're going to get together, chat about it. I have two favors to ask, and they're both because of things I did wrong on Friday. I finally understand Peter Diamandis a little more. Because if you watch Peter's podcast, which you have to do, by the way, it's just the greatest thing that's ever been produced. Peter's aggressively optimistic. And if anybody even begins down the route of pessimism, he shuts them down, which pisses me and everybody in his comment thread off. But I realize now why. Because the minute you go there, y'all, it's a lightning train to that direction, and then we're all going to die, and everybody has herpes and AIDS and no more money. So I'm not saying that we stay aggressively optimistic for the sake of optimism, but what I am saying is I think if these calls are going to be productive, there's a bunch of ways to figure out how and why AI is going to eat everybody alive. What I'd like to do is try to find the things that really are profit-driven, things we can capitalize on, opportunities available and accessible. So that's favor number one. Let's be optimistic-ish, right? Like not Peter optimistic, but optimistic-ish. Like try to find where the silver lining is. And then number two, and this is also my fault, I'd love to bring it down into tactical terms every single time. Like whatever it is that we're talking about, it has to be actionable enough for somebody who's watching us live on YouTube or Facebook to be like, oh, I could actually take that and use it. And that's how we get people to watch this and tune in. We get to grow our group, which we've already done. We're getting bigger and bigger. I see Grant, Brandon, Buzz, Elliot, Sharif, Dylan, Clinton. Jason's maybe kind of here from his iPhone, though. So good job being committed, Jason. I appreciate all y'all being here. Who has the early stage topic? Dylan, I know it's you. You're going to pretend like you don't have it. And you're waiting in the wings. But if somebody else has something to say, feel free to steal the mic from Dylan.
Okay, I'll take it.
Dylan starts off.
Yeah, figured.
Okay. Well, first, on the topic of favor one, I want to walk back my take on Clinton's situation. And I feel that it was an inappropriate time to bring up my skepticism of vibe coding and that it derailed the discussion of what he was working on. So after thinking about it more, I agree with what everyone else said, that it makes sense to take ongoing payment to do maintenance. There needs to be somebody maintaining it.
Well, to catch all of our listeners up, Clinton, who's on this call, created this really cool tool that helps specific nonprofits. What channel, Clinton? There's a niche. It's a nonprofit niche.
It's for mental health social workers.
Mental health social workers, and they have to do really specific and advanced math. And you figured out how to automate that math using vibe coding. You have a meeting maybe this week. It's not necessarily on the calendar unless there's an update there.
Well, today was an office holiday, so maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
But while I have the mic, I'm gonna walk back some of my comments from Friday.
Bro, there's too much. We're gonna apologize way too much if we keep doing
Okay.
it. Go. Yeah, this is the last one.
Okay, yeah.
And then everybody has to stand boldly by their stupidity forever, okay? No matter what we say.
Okay. I don't know. I had more time to think and reflect with Gemini on the situation, and maybe I'm not giving the guy a fair shake. So he might swing in my favor, and I'm just not seeing it yet.
Oh, you're talking about your point of contact, who's the chief math guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all, I got to tell you what Clinton just did. Here's something actionable. If by the way, if you're watching us live, come join us in the Zoom room, dailysigh.ai. Lauren Petrullo just joined, who's marketing royalty. She's graced us with her brilliant and almost funny presence.
How
If y'all
dare
don't
you,
know,
almost? I'm the only
almost
pair
funny.
of tits in the room, unless I
Uh,
don't know
you
how
don't know
large people
that.
are.
I'm 41-year-old dad bod. I got tits. They're just not the good kind.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Lauren is the host of Perpetual Traffic. Brilliant, brilliant marketer. Been the main stage on traffic and conversion for I don't know how many years. She's amazing until TNC died. You probably killed TNC if we're being honest.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Add
Lauren,
that to
glad you're
my
here.
record. What have you done? Have you sabotaged any successful conferences? No, that's
So
embarrassing.
many. Yeah. I'm uh I'm probably the reason that Perry's mastermind doesn't grow. People don't like me as much. Anyway, you distracted me, Lauren. What were we talking about? Clinton just said
Clinton
give
was
the guy a chance.
amazing.
Oh,
Brilliant.
here's a pro tip. This is something actionable for small business. So I did this thing. This is really sneaky. I'm in the middle of I don't even know what to call it. We'll just say a combative discussion that's being proctored by um, a supervisor, a supervisory entity. Okay, so I'll let y'all interpret that however it is that you choose to. And so what I did is I went online and I Googled. Actually, I didn't even Google it really. I had Claude and Gemini do all this for me, but I did an amazing amount of research on the supervising entity. And then I plugged it into my AI friends and I built a dossier on this person. And then I took my arguments and I had them filtered through the dossier and it changed not my argument, but the way that it was presented entirely. And I think you can do that for everything. You know, to Clinton's point, if you're about to go pitch somebody, if you're going to be in a meeting with them, if they have any amount of content online, you get to learn who that person is. You know, you get to learn their semantic index, how they speak, how they think, what they do, and then you get to kind of like filter that and I think as long as you're doing it with integrity, I think that can only be valuable to them and to you. It reminds me of Dale Carnegie's Win Friends and Influence People. Like that wasn't I didn't think anyway, it was a disingenuous way to approach humanity. You know, like be genuinely interested in people, smile, learn their name, that type of stuff. Well, now we can do it to the nth degree using AI. So that to me feels action driven. Elliot Dean, wait, you're muted.
Well, there we go.
You did it.
Not anymore. Just to add to your point there, Kasim, in terms of actionable things to do, one of the things I have been doing is people that I really respect who have an awful lot of YouTube content, especially with Gemini because the direct access to the captions of the videos, you can sort of create, these horrific digital twins for free just using Gemini, right? And you can just have a back and forth with them. And the larger the amount of content, the wiser those twins I found tend to be. But
Mm.
and with Gemini's ability on visual processing as well, I've been building a couple of those synthetic twins to debate certain visuals and things. Like I'm just buying another property and I'm just using that to debate with a couple of designers, for instance, on aspects with that. But the more content they have on YouTube, of course, the more information that it can draw from.
So I just said, I mean, to summarize that, maybe for me, you're gonna take like you could take Hormozy and Gary Vee, and you could pit them against each other. So I take all of Hormozy's transcripts, all of Gary Vee's transcripts, and then I get to have them argue on a topic and kind of get free advice from two of the greater minds in digital marketing.
Yeah, and of course, the more YouTube content they have, the more content Google has to play around with in terms of those personalities.
Yeah, that's really brilliant, dude. I like that a lot. Perry Belcher does something really similar. He goes back though, like he created a Douglas MacArthur. I haven't heard the term digital twin, but I'll steal it from you. Anybody that's, like you said, that you respect and that has some amount of content online it's almost scary how easy they are to kind of bottle,
Mhm.
and then it feels like the responses are pretty consistent.
I like to ask if I'm trying to do some kind of like negotiation or I'm stumped on something. I'll ask like, so give me the answer based upon if you were Alex Hormozy, Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett. Because I mean, they're trained on everything on the internet. They've got it already there anyway,
Yeah.
right? And I get really great feedback on and angles of how they look at and digest the problem.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I'd
Mhm.
like to, I haven't done this with any major thought leaders, but I've done it with clients. We built client dossiers on our Pareto talent clients. Not, we haven't done all of them yet, but we're starting to build them slowly. And the idea is that the EA can decide what their boss would say before asking them. So before you go bug Brandon with your question, ask Brandon AI, and then Brandon AI will come back to you. And what's cool about that is you have a lot of personal information. You know, you have all of their email, all of their drive, all your past communication, and that ends up being super, super productive too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've been super actionable so far, y'all. I'm proud of us. This was a good mandate. Yeah, I see Buzz. What are you doing, dude? Who you talking to?
Up my day with my staff.
Oh,
They're
nice.
just like they're got contracts coming through, making sure they get to the right people.
Crushing it. Well, I'm glad you're here, dude. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. Dylan, you got your hand up.
Yeah, the real topic after I got done apologizing. So the report that you shared on Friday was fascinating.
Bro, wasn't that freaking insane?
I don't know if I'm able to share a link or if you have to, but I want
Yeah,
to talk about
go
one of
ahead,
the
please.
and how it relates to the thread I've been pulling on over the last week and started off very abstract, but has gotten more and more applicable over the week. That being the topic of interagent communication, which turned into more of an efficiency and reduction of ambiguity. So one of the points in that document is that the current cost of API is being subsidized at a rate of 98%. It costs up to 100 times more to actually produce the AI result than you are paying. Um, and it gave an example of like a customer support application that costs $1.2 million a year to run, uh, becomes 12 million and could cripple the business. So, um, token reduction will become more of a premium service, and you could offer a consultancy going into these businesses and reducing their compute cost as it becomes more expensive. So what you can do now is just work on reducing your own token usage. I think the compression that I like pitched is not that big of a factor. It's more how do you get better results? How do you reduce duplicated work? Um, how do you have a more effective context? Uh, and then you develop these SOPs, which then in 2 or so years, when this cost starts going up, you are already prepared for it. And that's valuable content or service that you are able to uh, put out there.
While you were talking, I just went and tried to buy tokenreduction.com. It's taken, sadly. Dude, that is freaking brilliant. That there is 100% a massive niche there. And the meat, I would talk through this with me because I don't know if what I'm about to say makes any sense. It feels to me like it would be per business industry or category, because token reduction for customer service is going to be way different than token reduction for sales. And when you crack the code on one, I think there's going to be like a lot of nuancy, sort of, rinse and repeat standard operating procedures that you could sell or deploy. And most of it is just going to be decreasing human error, right? It's like training people not to be stupid, and compressed documentation, not reused documentation, et cetera. Agree or disagree with that take?
Hey, I think there will be some commonalities that you'll be able to apply as sort of a blanket, but then there will also be specific like that if it's a prompt for doing scientific research or something, it will probably be pretty different from customer
Yeah.
support. But to extend this further, I asked it, is there any talks of not doing token pricing anymore? Because if you are like, man, I'm totally going to do a token reduction consultancy in 2 years and then it changes, then you are SOL. It thought that was a very good question. It said that currently tokens are kind of a direct proxy for compute. Uh, but that in the future, it's possible that that would change and that it would be based on a successful task. Um, or something else. But that if the solution is just better prompts, better context. Oh yeah, the other important thing is that if you're going by token-based pricing, that encourages using less context because context counts as tokens, and
Mm.
less context gives you worse results. So the pricing model is encouraging you to use the AI in a suboptimal way. And also that tokens are not created equal. If you use both Sonnet and Opus, it's possible that they return the same number of words, but that Opus used far more compute because of the reasoning. Uh,
Well,
but
and to the point that you're making too, as companies invest in longer, broader, and more robust context windows, just naturally they would cost more tokens, right? So it's almost like better outcome equals higher token usage, assuming all tokens are equal, and I know they're not.
Mark Twain had this quote that said, I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have enough time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's brilliant. I
very
just bought
common
reduce
enough.
my tokens, by the way. I'm gonna gift that to you, Brandon, if you want it. But it was
Yeah.
$12 and I didn't want anybody to steal it.
Oh,
Um,
token
yeah.
trading. I like that one.
Dude, so if you're watching this, if you're looking for, there's a couple of really, really potent opportunities. The obvious one is just AI integration. But what Dylan just said, man, I think that's really brilliant. Token reduction. You know what I like about that? I like any business model where I get to eat what I kill. And with token reduction, I'd come in and say, I'll take half. I will take half of whatever it is I save you. And for companies that are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month, that's a pretty damn good deal. You know, you have to find a way to kind of keep yourself in there, and that's on you. I think that as long as the value provision continues, then nobody's going to fight you on it. But that's really brilliant, dude. I love that a lot.
But you're
Tokenserver.ai from
but
Buzz.
by what you just said though, you're creating a paradox because now you're creating a subjective output for value and quality.
Oh,
To
dude.
me,
Yeah.
it is not maybe that I have a higher quality quotient depending on what I'm doing. And so now you're creating this question of like, yeah, I'm saving money, but am I creating more work because we're getting less quality?
When we had Solutions 8, we were billing people a percentage of their ad spend. So my incentive was to spend more money. Now we're, good humans and I want to go to heaven. So we never actually leaned into that. Like I comped my people on retention, not on spend, for the most part until the very end. And the paradox that you're talking about is built into every professional services business ever. Like, there's always going to be a goal and people are going to gamify the goal and you better make sure the goal is something where your interests are aligned. So yeah, I think that's really well said. Uh, and it just sort of is what it is, I mean, especially for an outside entity, you have to be able to point it a measurable KPI.
Yeah. I mean, I like the notion that we could start paying for outcomes, right?
Mm.
And then, but then you then run into another paradigm shift of like, well, what's considered a good outcome,
Dude, that's
right?
what's really interesting. This is kind of what Clinton did with his vibe coding app. And this, again, if you're watching this and you're looking for an opportunity, the paying for outcome things makes a lot of sense. It's the same idea where, hey, I have this tech stack or I've built this tool that executes on this output. And if you can do it better and more efficiently than me, then I'm willing to, there's an arbitrage play there. And what I like about that is now the onus of responsibility is on me to produce more value than you can produce, but I get to keep the tech. So the ownership, the IP is proprietary to me. And it's almost kind of that trade-off. It's like I'll outsource my problems to you as long as you can always be better, cheaper, and more efficient. And for as long as that's true, you and I can decide on what the leverageable arbitrage is. It might be 50% of what I'm paying or 90% or 10%. But as long as you can maintain that rate, and I reserve the right at any time to go take a second stab. So if I wanted to try to rebuild Clinton's shit because I realized like, wait a minute, Replic's not that hard, and then I go one weekend and beat my head against the wall trying to build what he did, I get to take it anytime I want, and he has to hand over whatever data would make it work. But if I can't do it, and we all know most people can't, then you stay the quote unquote agent of record. That might be a good way to approach it.
Can be until vibe coding becomes as easy as talking to the computer as we do prompts now. I
Dude,
mean,
that's
just a
about where
year
it
ago,
is.
we were selling
Yeah.
prompts, and because people couldn't figure out how to prompt a robot, now we don't have to do that anymore. Building prompts is only for the, I mean, for the day-to-day mundane that we're going to be automating. I mean, I think it comes down to, do you know which questions to ask? And that comes down to expertise, which is still going to be the
Well,
new,
expertise and context, right? It's like, do you know
right?
what questions to ask, and that would relate to the business independently. So that's why I think Imad Mustaq said we have 1,000 days. He said it in, I think, May of last year. So that gives us 2.5 years ish. Um, and I think in the next 2.5 years, that's what we do, is what we're talking about. Like, try to find all the opportunities to provide immense amount of value, and then make as much money as we can. In 1,000 days, it's not that, again, I said we weren't going to go dystopian. I actually believe very strongly, and I really mean this, that AI is the best thing that's ever happened to humanity. I do think, though, that in the utopian version, even, let's go best case scenario, the ability for outweighted returns is taken off of the table, which means like entrepreneurs seeking out, the opportunity and the chance to make more. So, is everybody fed, clothed, and housed? Yeah, let's hope so. And in 1,000 days, we're all going to have made about as much money as we've made. So, I agree with you in terms of like the timeline. It's a burning bridge that we're running across. And it doesn't mean that it's not worth, like, just because you can see where it ends doesn't mean that you don't run it. Because I feel like it's true for all of it, especially as soon as robotics catches up.
I think that as long as we have subjective output, you'll have expertise to sell, right? Because like knowledge is a commodity. We all can get knowledge through any number of ways now, but knowledge and experience creates expertise. And if you haven't been there, you haven't done that, you don't know what questions to ask. You're always going to be able to ask better questions, which is somebody asked, said something like the art of clear instruction by asking the right questions. If you have never been there, you can't ask the right questions to get to the solution.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm heading in the direction. My advice to everybody in my mastermind right now is, um, and this might be a question of definition of terms, and I hope this doesn't sound like too aggressive a challenge, because I actually like, if two people disagree and one of them is unnecessary. I don't believe in deep specialization anymore. So to be ultra specific, like, I don't think you need like a Python developer or a heart surgeon. I think what you need is a hyper motivated generalist who's willing to, like you're saying, ask the questions and do the work. I think that what AI is, or at least what it seems to be in function, like AI beats radiologists 1,000 times out of 1,000. And so that specialization of being a radiologist, like, that feels like, uh-oh. But the broad category of medicine, like, are you going to need a quarterback in your medical life? Like, maybe, probably. So I like the idea of motivated generalists above hyper intelligent specialists, especially because the specialist's favorite thing to say is, that's not my job. Every specialist I've ever had on staff, that's not my job. It's not my job description. Well, congratulations, you no longer have a job, because I have an AI that'll do that and a bunch of other shit. So I like the motivated generalist, and I'm noticing that with my staff too. The people that are yielding the most and the best for me are the ones that can tackle multiple. Like my EA Gina, she did this thing in the legal realm, and then she moves on and does something in HR, and then she moves on and does something in marketing. And none of it's perfect. It's like, she's not a marketer or a lawyer or an HR consultant, but she's such a smart individual. And again, going back to your point, Buzz, she can ask the right questions, that she's actually really able to execute at a high level on a lot of things.
I agree with about half of what you say as far as the direction of expertise. Like you talk about hyper specialization, I think is going away. Specialization when it comes to expertise, I think is my arguable point. I can agree to disagree with you as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, and I guess
how to
time,
build a business, there are things that will get you to a certain point. But if you've never been to $100 million, you're probably not asking the right questions to get to $250 million.
I
Right?
agree. And I think that goes back to defining terms, like expertise on what. It's almost like the expertise as it pertains to specific levels of analysis is what's being commoditized. But maybe I would substitute the word expertise for experience.
Well, I feel
Um,
that experience with knowledge creates the expertise.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
and
the
now we're
experience by
now we're
itself
on a
doesn't do it.
semantic merry-go-round. I know what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah, that's fair. Clayton, you've
Yeah.
got your hand up.
I got to run. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, buddy. Glad you're
Yeah.
here.
So last night I saw a video by Rick Beato, who is comparing AI and the infrastructure to the business model of old-fashioned recording studios. and how home recording replaced that. And now local AI models running on a Mac Mini, for instance, are going to replace that eventually. What I'd personally like to see is like a local AI that's like an expert in 2 or 3 things, but not a generalized overbuilt model,
Mm.
and use that at home, like for whatever project I'm on. So I don't know if there's a way for that to happen. Like I'm all there.
Dylan, you got your hand up. Is that a response to that?
Did anyone watch Jensen Huang's keynote today?
No.
They just put out like 8 different specialized open source models for weather, geography, um, biology, and they said that this isn't a one-time thing. Those will all be maintained. Um, Nearly all of them, they're all at the top of the benchmarks in their specific industries, and then they put out a base model which is fourth in benchmark behind uh the two Opus, Sonnet, and then GPT-4 5.4. It's in fourth place behind those, but that it's a base model that can then be um modified for a more specific purpose. Um, and Hugging Face, which I've heard the name because it's a funny name, but I've never seen it before. I believe it's a marketplace of specialized models. Um, yeah, so the what you're suggesting, I think that you're on the right track, like the using and Cosm has been talking about this, going like that.
Dude, I'm on my Daily Sigh right
The
now
how
looking
niche
for
they
the
are.
citation, Dylan, because this was one of the things we reported on last week, which was crazy to me, is enterprise organizations going granular with their AI, to what Dylan's just saying, like kind of, and they were picking some weird niches too. You know, it wasn't like finance. It was, I forgot, that's the one that I'm looking for. There was one in particular where I was like, well, that blows my mind. It might have been Salesforce getting into, and that's the problem, is I forget the vertical. But yeah, so I think Clinton, I think the enterprise organizations are building it. And then to Dylan's point, I didn't realize that NVIDIA came out and said that. I've got that link pulled up though, Dylan. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours long. You can watch like 15 minutes of it. So most of it is about, yeah, there's no data centers anymore. They're now AI factories. Uh, but the only like consumer facing things, so they're putting out a fork of OpenClaw that is not have huge security flaws, and includes a bunch of new NVIDIA stuff like tied in, and they worked with, which I don't quite know how, because he's working for OpenAI. Well, no, I guess they're not competing, but yeah, they worked with the guy, Peter, who made it. And I think that was about it. He talks about the models during that. So if you skip to the part about Nemo Claw, uh, that just about covers everything. Unless you like video games, they're making a new version of DLSS.
I
Uh,
don't know. What is DLSS?
it in video games you have a frame rate like 60 frames per second or whatever.
Hmm.
It AI generates frames in between the frames. So like there's real frames, and then in between are there's a lot of controversy about it in the video game world. But yeah, they talk about robots, they talk about their new architectures and stuff, and the yeah, a lot of it is data center focused, but during the Nemo Claw part, he talks about these new models that are called Nemotron or something like that.
And it's going to be deep specialization. And you said there were 8 categories?
I believe so, yeah. I can look for I can scroll through for a
I'll
screenshot.
go. I'll have YouTube summarize it for me. I thank you for that, dude. The thing, this occurs to me too. We had a conversation, I think, on the very first call about the plumbing example. There's some PE firm that's equipping plumbers with um like surveillance equipment, so that the smart 25 tenured plumber can sit in an air conditioned room and tell the young buck what to do. It's that the 25-year tenured plumber, like it's that information that this new process would need, right? Like anybody here who has 20, I guess to what Buzz was saying, was 25 years worth of like deep learning and experience. I'm trying to buy a septic company right now. And the thing that's really interesting is I sat across from a guy that owns it, and like every question I asked him it was like the Hydra, you cut one head off and it was like seven more would grow. It led to seven more because he spent 30 years of his life pumping shit, fixing septic trucks, like digging into the ground. And so I realized, I'm like, man, before we could ever AI any of this, we'd have to bottle what he knows. And so much of that is analog. So there's going to be a space race at some point, for every repository, like every deep repository of information, and it's going to be everything, right? Like my brother owns a building, and one of his tenants does high-end framing for nice pieces of art. And y'all, the amount of work that goes into framing and the shit you got to know, it's insane. Same thing for draperies, you know what I mean? Or fixing appliances, like all that stuff has to be not just digitized, but it also needs to be placed in a hierarchical structure. Because if I know how to fix a fridge, and Grant knows how to fix a fridge, and Elliot knows how to fix a fridge, like whose idea and approach is better, more sound, more whatever. And so I feel like the digitization of that might be like the next frontier. So if you're watching this or listening to this, if you have a repository of that type of content, man, I think that's insanely valuable. I sold this business, but I had the largest English speaking Montessori community in the world. And we had what amounted to, I mean, by the time I sold it was a few thousand really robust resources for Montessori schools, how to run a school, parent education, teacher education, stuff for students. And as I look at that now, I'm like, man, I could feed that to AI and just make like the greatest AI driven Montessori everything. It could be ops and marketing and HR and back end and parent education, teacher education. So if you're sitting on that, I think that there's a huge opportunity there to really make something special and to own the industry, really, because the first one who does it is the one that takes it and runs with it. That's the scary part is once you have all the master plumbers digitized, you never need another master plumber. So that $200,000 job just went away, and here we are dystopian again. So I'll stop talking. What else do we have? Big unlocks, Clinton?
Uh, Kind of a mindset thing. Like, yeah, we are going in a certain direction, but humans always adapt somehow. Like, there used to be people who would throw rocks at your window to wake you up when there were no alarm clocks. Those people found new jobs, like we adapt. So yeah, we could beat ourselves up a little bit, but it's not all that necessary.
Yeah, I think you're right. Dude, I think this new world is going to be really. My best friend in middle school was this guy named Christian, and he was the greatest artist, painter, sculptor, musician I've ever seen in my life. Anything creative this man could do. He was extraordinary. It was a level of genius that's hard to articulate until you've seen it. He picked up the violin and just started playing it. Academically, it's worthless though. He's right now, I think he lives in Oregon, and I'm sure he has a happy life, but like the world that we live in from an opportunity to monetize perspective left him behind because his skill set doesn't it's not honored, the way that my skill set's honored, let's say. And that's really tragic too, because I actually think his skill set is a more integrous skill set. So I think that on the other half of AI, all those people that got left behind, and it's kind of the right brainers. It's people that want to do things for the sake of themselves. I think that those folks end up finding kind of like a new renaissance. I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be really interesting to watch because the people that want to paint don't paint because like everybody's like, oh, AI paints better and makes better music and sculpts better. It's like, well, it doesn't matter because the painter that loves to paint paints because he loves to paint. The pianist that loves to play piano. So I think that category of humanity is going to step into their own season. What up, buddy? Thanks for joining us. If you're watching us live, you can join. Go to dailysigh.ai. I think this is the biggest crew we've had so far. I'm pretty excited about it. Sharif, you've said nothing. You don't have to. I don't want to shame you into it. How you doing, man?
Hey, don't worry. Sometimes you gotta shame people to get the results, right?
That's what. Yeah, shame is a powerful motivator. People underestimate, as a parent, like people underestimate how much shame impacts people.
No, my buddy Grant invited me on, and I'm an AI enthusiast and solopreneur as well. So it's great to be here amongst everybody with a similar mind, and great to hear about everybody's perspective on, how they're leveraging AI, how they're thinking about monetizing it, and what cool opportunities are out there. And so, yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I'm glad you're here. What do you do? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, I I'm a startup founder running a startup that uses AI to automate data science and data analysis. So we're
Nice.
starting off in the survey space and hoping have a few partners already and hoping to take our app and leverage it to have build out more clients and to uh, analyze more data.
What's the survey space like bucket ask Ryan Levesque type stuff?
No, it's market research agencies, political polling agencies,
Okay.
between to $5 million. They're sort of mid-tier, but now with AI being so good at coding, being so good at analyzing data, there's a great opportunity to leverage its capabilities to streamline those workflows.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. We should have done this in the very beginning. Can we go around? I want the same thing that we just got out of Sharif. What does everybody do? Clinton, what do you, I kind of have a sense. I know you wanted to go back to school, you're building some shit, but like, what's your elevator pitch?
Besides my vibe coding projects, I teach guitar and I do security for stability. So yeah.
Nice. What does security for stability mean?
Like financial stability.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah. Like my students will fluctuate, but security, I got a regular schedule, so it's whatever. And then going back to school is my goal. So yeah,
yeah, I remember that, dude. I'm rooting for you. I love that.
thank
I'm
you.
just gonna go in order of how I see everybody. I don't know how y'all see everybody. Dylan, what's your story?
I exited a business in December of 2024. That was it.
Nice. That's a big deal, dude. You should be proud of yourself.
It was
You don't have to tell us how much you made, but
more than half of my compensation was debt relief.
yeah.
But yeah, it was in the witchcraft education space.
No shit.
No, that's a big one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've dated some girls that could teach that. I have referrals for you if you need them.
yeah. It's funny. I asked you at one point early on in this, like about, what did you do after the exit? And you completely validated all my feelings, but you said, then you have this big pile of money to make you feel better, and I didn't have that. So
Yeah, you got all the downside, none of the upside.
yeah. So I've been freelancing since then. Um, I was annotating data sets of coding problems that AI is trained on, and then freelancing, making WordPress sites faster. I made an audit of Pareto Talent that I posted in the group a while ago. Um, and I'm currently like entrepreneur on a project. If anyone's read Stephen Pressfield, I'm living the shadow life. I'm running somebody else's business instead of my own, but I'm hoping to change that soon. This group is really inspiring me and energizing to try to start doing something of my own instead of just freelancing.
I love it, man. I just went and looked for that Shadow Life article from Pressfield. Um, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Someday I'm going to learn more of that witchcraft. That was an interesting industry to have started. Brandon, you're next. I know you're like the god of SEO, dude. You gave us a freaking masterclass your first day here. What else do you do?
I'm basically like the ghost behind the scenes for high level banking and financing institutions. So I also do, I guess, rank and rent before it was a popular keyword.
Dude, I think that's coming back in the AI space from an AEO perspective. There's a strong opportunity for that. We'll talk about that if we have some time because I have an idea on what to do there, but keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just kind of make it rain. One of my large clients, I generate about 3 billion a month in inquiries for them,
Wow.
and I've got 30 years of financial experience, real estate, commercial, um, corporate finance, trade, moving financing for oil ships back and forth across the world. So yeah, that's where I started, and then I kind of started my agency back in 2005, and been playing quiet behind the scenes ever since.
Yeah, I love it. Do you say 3 billion inquiries a month?
3 billion, no, 3 billion in volume a month in inquiries for one of my clients.
Oh, 3 billion in volume.
Hmm.
I misunderstood that entirely. I was like, man, half the world is filling out one of your
Yeah,
forms.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. But 3 billion, dude. I mean, anything with a B, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've never touched anything with a B. I would like to.
Yep. I keep
Yeah,
people fed.
yeah.
I enjoy what I do. I like to I like knowing that what I do helps companies grow, and that's really the altruistic aspect of it. I'm completely underpriced and overworked, but I'm still passionate and driven by it. And so I know that I wake up and provide value each day.
I love that, dude. Good for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Grant, you're up.
My turn. Let's see. So my background's with drones. I started a company maybe 7 years ago. It was a automation platform connecting commercial drone pilots with project managers. I sold that and then stayed in construction. That's actually how I heard you, is on Contractor Evolution, the Breakthrough Academy podcast.
Yeah.
And basically, I work with custom home builders, remodelers, people in the trades, helping them implement AI to overcome a lot of their issues,
Oh,
for
dude, I
which there
love
are
that.
many.
I have somebody I want to introduce you to. You got to be on our podcast.
Cool.
Let me make a note for myself before I forget. Yeah, the trade space it's blowing up.
It's like, even I built a partnership with JobTread, which they're kind of like I don't even know, the rocket ship for residential construction in terms of software. And that alone, like, I think they just hit 11,000 users. And it's just so much traffic because people need so much help just implementing that one thing.
Yeah.
And they have an open API, so I just tossed it into Claude. I probably spend maybe 30 minutes, an hour with each client every week. Just, and then bill for however many.
Dude, if I had, I wouldn't be telling people about it if I had. That sounds like a golden goose right there. I'll
Yeah.
let the word out. That's
Well,
awesome.
there's enough to share.
Yeah, there's enough to go around. Good for
Yeah.
you. I love it. Elliot Dean.
Hello. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. An accountant made a mistake and I'm having to go through reconciliation for like 900 transactions. So wonderful time of year, right?
Yeah, you're good, man. We're
Brandon,
just playing
I
meet and
have
greet.
to ask, do you use Vessel's Value for the oil ship stuff that you do? The platform for the pricing platform? Because actually the guy that started that lives down my road and it's such a niche such a niche thing. The guy's a really cool guy, but
I mean, that was 2010, right? And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
shipping crude oil and palm oil. And so
Oh, okay.
we
All
just
right.
went off basically what Lloyd's of London would insure for, and then,
Okay, cool.
the bills of lading and,
I thought I'd ask because that's probably the only time in my life I'm gonna get to potentially make a connection with someone on that. But yeah,
yeah.
um, involved in three main projects at the moment. One is a fintech company where we've been over the last 8 years or so developing a platform for cheaply setting up securities trading infrastructure for the US market. Outside the blockchain. Our great leader, one of the original guys on Ethereum. And I'm also involved in energy infrastructure in the US, finding energy for data centers, but also helping figure out ways to fix those severe problems that are coming down the road. And then also working on AI, so AI architecture, with thankfully all three of which with people much smarter than me that I've somehow managed to get involved with. So I feel very lucky, but yeah, working on those three.
Dude, singing my tune. It's just people smarter. I was just the guy in the dorm room. You know what I mean? Sitting around where other smart people came up with the idea, and I just got to be there. No, Elliot's super bright. He owns a little slice of one of my companies actually. And I get to, for a while there, dude, we were meeting every week, and I had amazing access to not just his wisdom but that voice, which I don't know about y'all, but Elliot could talk me into doing just about anything because it just sounds smarter coming from him.
Keep
It's
an eye
pretty
on this
good.
space though, because what Casim's got going with our infrastructure is very, very interesting stuff. So
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'll talk to you about that offline at some point because I've got some updates. Crypticness, buddy, you're next. Buddy, this is your first time here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have enjoyed some of your content, and my main thing is I have an agency that ranks businesses on Google Maps and AI.
Nice.
Um, and then we backed into a whole lot of things like websites and social media and stuff out of that. So we're launching like we're gonna keep this brand and then launch another brand that's like the full stack, like the go high level CRM and all the social media and traditional SEO and all, like especially now with AI. But yeah, the reason I came back to your stuff was I read like half of Hired, and then um
And then you
I'd
fell
had a
asleep.
couple,
And
yeah, I'd had a couple of bad hires in 25 and had to fire people. And so then I like used your stuff, and I really just wanted one really like rock star AI guy to help me implement stuff. And I ended up getting two, and I was trying to do this project. It was stupid. Like I everything you're not supposed to do, like build and then, market later, did all that. But then I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to bring them all under this brand and help me launch this. So anyway, I was like, well, Kasim's stuff worked for hiring. Let me see like what my next thing is I need to get from you. So I just came back to the group and saw some videos came up. So I thought, oh, I'll pop on this and see what's going on here.
I'm
So
glad you're here, dude. And that
yeah,
note that you offered about like was only looking for one, but I ended up hiring two. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that or that's happened to me.
yeah,
Because when you get, you put yourself in front of a pipeline of just rock stars, it's hard to say no.
yeah,
It's like a kid at the candy store. So I'm really excited to hear that. I just gifted everybody on this call with the book, the workbook, the cheat sheet, the audio book, all the templates and all the resources. Which is why you show up live. If you're watching, you can join us at dailysigh.ai. And buddy, thanks for helping me seed my book. I appreciate you.
yeah, man.
Yeah, glad you're here. Just out of curiosity, when you're ranking in the maps, what are you calling that process? Like, how are you referring to like I provide what service?
Well, we just say like if you're winning the maps and you're a local business, you're winning,
Yeah.
like, and obviously it's not true for every single niche, but for like 500 it is. And so we just say, we help you win. Like don't lose out to your competitors. And one of our latest go to market strategies is I literally just put up the rankings for a whole niche and just reach out to all of them and say, hey, here's how you're ranking. We can help one of you win that's not of the like,
And we're only taking one and I'm offering exclusivity.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
played
just
that
send
game
them all
before.
to the same page and just say, hey, here's the report. Here's how you're doing. You can see exactly how you're ranking. And if you want to quit losing, talk to map winners. So,
Map winners. Love it. Thanks for being here, dude.
yep.
Jason Croft. What's up, buddy?
What's happening?
You are here. You're not AI.
Maybe.
Could
Who
be.
knows?
Yeah. Outside, I know you got a kick-ass podcast. I think you do stuff in the personal brand space, if memory serves. Don't you have like 300 magazines or something? What am I getting? What is it? Like
No,
publications or links? No,
no. Sounds
Nice.
no.
cool though.
I think I just transposed you with somebody else then. All right, you do you
Yeah.
better than I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, first off, I have a bone to pick with Grant because he and I were on a call for like an hour and a half today, and now I got so much stuff to do because
Homework is
we
good
we
for
coming
you.
up with great ideas. So,
Nice.
but yeah, my background is the media side of things. Forever, 30 plus years of movies and video events, all that fun stuff, and mainly doing the podcasting thing right now for clients. Big shift trying to go into is more of a bigger thing on that personal brand side of things, everything that somebody kind of needs, and it's going to become even more valuable. And digging in and starting that with the Pulsia thing that I've been talking about last week, in there deep with that and building out a business there that's kind of a one piece of that overall solution that I have. It's like entry point into my world. So it's going in and automatically creating authority pages and lead magnets and all that for folks. And so far, so good.
Love it, man. Yeah, that Pulsea thing was super cool.
Started playing with that today myself.
Dude, it was badass. Yeah. And it's fun on a meta scale too, just to see what's possible with agentic AI. Like it makes you think about it differently. So yeah, that was awesome. Jason, what's the name of your podcast?
Strategy and action
Strategy
is
in Action. And you help people with
one of them.
podcast production too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so usually coaches, consultants launch it from scratch, ongoing support.
Nice. Love it. And last, is definitely not least, Lauren Petrulo, who's refused to show up on camera this entire time, in spite of
Well,
commenting on other people's looks.
well, that's fair. But after hearing that Brandon started his shit in 2005,
Yeah. And still looks 25 years old.
I'm beyond upset.
Yeah.
96 is when I actually started in finance. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, he's just like bathing himself in like infant blood. That's the only thing I can think of is
Because
how.
apparently there's a lot of that going around. So
Yeah,
it's no longer a joke anymore,
that's
right?
yeah, that's funny. It's a Tim Ferriss lifestyle.
Yeah. I know Tim, he's full of shit. That dude's never worked 4 hours in a week of his life. Lauren, who are you? Why are you special? What are you doing here?
Why? Who am I? Well, you gave me a really good introduction earlier.
I thought so.
I'm the. If you say you're the poor man's Polly Pittman, I'm the pathetic excuse of a costume replacement.
Oh, that's not true. Yeah.
Well, there were more smiles when I said that than I would have anticipated, so it has to be more true than not.
You have a strange Asian
I've
fetish.
listened to her with you. You guys all talk together on your podcast, both of you, right?
Yeah. For a while there, we were both on PT. Lauren was our favorite guest.
Yeah.
And Ralph always needs a minority card, one or the other. So I was his 3-year brown card, and Lauren's his 3-year female card. And yeah, maybe one day he'll find both. Like just
He's
one
looking
ring
for a
to rule
black
them all.
woman to be
Yeah,
his co-host.
that's what
I
he needs,
imagine.
dude.
Maybe a
He
black
needs-
trans woman. Then it's
Yeah.
like I've covered every base.
Yeah. And you have some e-commerce brands, you do some marketing stuff, and you're obviously an amazing speaker.
Well, okay, great. Thanks. There you go. That's
Yeah.
me in a nutshell. I explain myself as wildly inappropriate and sometimes entertaining.
Yeah.
Wildly inappropriate, mildly entertaining. My business cards are condoms, and they're the funniest thing when I'm like, "Would you like an erection in your sales? Want to stop blue ballsing your bottom line?" And it continues down that rabbit hole. I spoke recently at an event with a large majority of Mormons in the room.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, as much as I know they're not using these things, with 11 to 13 kids on average per couple, is the most memorable business card that no one's going to use.
That's so
Ideally.
fun. Good for you.
That sounds hilarious. I hope that was recorded.
The worst night of my life, by far, was sitting next to Lauren Petrulo and Perry Belcher, each of whom was one-upping the other one on how dirty their jokes could get. And y'all, they have no filter and no limits. Like, we all earned a place in hell that day. Me just for listening.
No, I earned a place in heaven for making Perry blush.
Yeah, she did. Lauren got Perry. Again, horrible night. Lauren, thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
I'm so glad that that's my send off of the worst night of my life.
Worst night of my life
was a threesome with Perry and Lauren of derogatory comedy.
That's fine. It's not how I would characterize it, but that's about what it was. Yeah. Dylan, you got your hand up?
Yeah, if that was everybody, I am able to bring us back
Oh,
to
we've got one more. Tymek just joined. First time. Tymek, real quick introduction, buddy. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Why are you here? What do you do? And help me say your name better, because I bet you I butchered it.
He says can't talk.
Yeah. He's stage shy. Well, if you figured out, oh, can't talk, my wife is sleeping. Oh, I thought you were being funny. Cool. Well, I appreciate you being here anyway. Dylan, floor is yours.
Came across a tool over the weekend, which I think is pretty consequential. It was consequential enough to be mentioned during the keynote today. But I don't know how to use it, and people are co-opting it. Like if you read this repo, you'll be as confused as I am. But what people are using it for is you take a thing and then you take an evaluation, which could be a metric or a set of yes or no questions. And then AI agents will do the thing, evaluate it, improve the thing, and try again 100 times. And so you can do it on a web page, you can do it for cold email and base like on click rate. But it harkens back to asking the right questions and how do you know if it's good?
Mm.
So when I was doing the data annotation towards the end, uh, we were making rubrics for problems so that AI could evaluate the other AI's answers. And in order to make these rubrics, you had to make statements that can only be answered by yes or no that are entirely unambiguous. There is no other way to interpret them. And it was really, really hard. And so in order to get this thing to work as effectively as it can, um, making a rubric or in order to use this thing on a more complex, subjective kind of thing, you will have to make a rubric that is, entirely unambiguous. And but yeah, so Nick Sarayev, if you're familiar on YouTube, I think he's the #1 earner on School. That's where I came across this. The repo itself is about AI training. So, and he used Claude Code to adapt it to work on Claude skill. He made a 4-question rubric. The skill was for generating infographics, and then it ran over and over again, and he like went through them and showed the progression. But it can be, if you give it a contrived evaluation, it can uh, optimize in a way you don't want it to optimize. Like if you get
Like if you asked, you mentioned email earlier. If you just said, "Hey, optimize these emails, send your 100, split it, and your key performance indicators and open rate," how long until the AI realizes all I have to do is write your wife is cheating on you for a 100% open rate, right? Like, even taking that further, if it's like I want to purchase, well, I promise this cures cancer, yields a purchase. So is that what you mean by a rubric? Like, uh, it's like a scorecard that's multivariant?
like one of his um questions on the rubric was, does it flow left to right and top to bottom?
Mm.
That it was generating infographics that were like traveling in all kind of weird directions, but English readers read top to bottom, left to right. One of them was like, does it follow my color palette? Does it use pastel colors? Uh, I'm looking for the video right now so to share along.
Dude, it's super cool. And it lends itself to this. I'm gonna share something with you guys. Do you mind? I actually would love y'all to stress test this. I'm about to shoot this video tomorrow. So I have this I don't know what to call it, like a thesis or a theory or an idea or a concept, okay? And I'm gonna pitch it at the group and then I'd love for you guys to beat it up. So here we're gonna play Death by PowerPoint. This is the old framework for innovation, and I contend that all innovation throughout human history has followed roughly this exact line of thinking, which starts with experimentation. And experimentation is actually not an entrepreneurial endeavor because experimentation, generally speaking, is not profitable. As a matter of fact, it's massively unprofitable, right? It's like costly and it takes a long time. Think of like Edison's 10,000 ways to make shit work. You don't make money experimenting. These are people that are just passion driven to solve problems. And it's hard and it's difficult to reproduce and it's expensive. And that's why it's just messy shape here. Once experimentation establishes something that looks feasible, you achieve what we would call proof of concept, which is still complex. It's still costly, Probably requires deep expertise, takes time, but it's at least replicable. So now we're in the proof of concept phase. And again, this is all innovation throughout time, from the wheel to fire to the internet to assembly lines to whatever, from experimentation to proof of concept. Now, what's interesting about proof of concept is once we've achieved proof of concept, you start to see resources flow towards the completion of this, and it's iterative, as all things are iterative. And with those iterations, it gets a little bit better and a little bit easier, and you move into stability. So proof of concept, it can be replicated with time and expertise and money. Stability is like, oh no, we know what we're doing here. And it's a stable output. Still takes maybe, some education, maybe some resources, but it's a stable output. You know for a fact it can get done. From stability moves into education. This is where we actually start building tools that do the work, and you can teach just about anybody to do it. Not to say it's easy, but you can teach just about anybody to do it. Anybody with an average cognitive load can do this thing. Once you've reached education, then you move into commoditization, which is like, all right, anybody and everybody can do this. It's basically, clockwork, which commoditization leads to ubiquity. Not to say that it's not valuable. And this is, Imad Mustaq said this in his book, and I loved it because I'd never even considered it. It was just so outside of my ability to conceptualize. But he said, we have no framing in our economy for something that's valuable but not monetizable. We don't know how to think about those things. But there's so much like that, like the internet in so many ways is like that. It's effectively free. Craigslist and Wikipedia, like those things are effectively free. It's not that they're not valuable, but they're ubiquitously available. So this is the sequence of innovation for all things. And this is the monetization curve. It's a bell curve like all curves. And at experimentation, you're actually losing money. At proof of concept, there's some monetization available to you. But really, people start making money once we achieve stability. By literal definition, you can predictably pump it out. And so you think about anything, right? From vaccines to website design. Like website design back in the day was impossibly hard, and it was an experiment. There was no standards. But then we moved into like, oh, wait a minute. We kind of know how to do this. I know how to get that computer to talk to that computer. Anybody can come to the site. And then from proof of concept, moved into stability, where you needed a PhD to build a website, but you could definitely do it. The PhDs made it a lot easier and more accessible and started teaching other people to do it. And that's when like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Plone, all those things. I don't know if y'all remember playing with those, but they were hard. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, just go on freaking Wix and you can build the site yourself. And now I can prompt it within an hour. That's the framework for innovation. And I think it's applicable to everything we've ever innovated. And the monetization, the bell curve looks like this until AI. So this is pre-AI. Post-AI, the new framework for innovation is this. Experimentation, it's the same as it's always been. Proof of concept, roughly the same as it's always been. Once we achieve proof of concept, stability, education, and commoditization happen, if not at the same time, but they're basically collapsed into one thing. Because AI takes proof of concept and goes, oh, and to the point that Dylan's making with this cool little GitHub thing, it goes, well, shit, I can iterate on this. And then it moves us into this point of ubiquity, which we're seeing happen. Like, 2 days ago, somebody goes, wow, look at this amazing thing I can do with AI. Yesterday, somebody made some money with it, and tomorrow it's absolutely free to everybody, and there's no monetization opportunity, right? It's like, it's so quick how fast this is happening, which means the bell curve for monetization looks like this. You're still not making money experimenting, but all the money is made somewhere around proof of concept, but before we hit this AI collapse, which means, and this is my soapbox, this is my take-home message, the entrepreneurial endeavor is now actually experimentation, where it never was before. In the past, entrepreneurs were called to find the experiments that had achieved proof of concept and figure out which one scaled, because we all love to scale. Scale is a stupid word, by the way. Now, because as soon as something's proven, AI takes it and eats it. It's not that there's not opportunity more. I think there's more opportunity than I've ever been exposed to in my entrepreneurial life. But the fulcrum moved. The fulcrum used to be past proof of concept. Now it's closer towards experimentation. And even more interesting, AI has effectively made experimentation free, right? You can run a near limitless number of experiments along a near limitless numbers of levels of analysis, including like go to market. You could, if you wanted to. I had a buddy who did this, Chris Luck, freaking brilliant guy. He created these AI clones, but he gave each one a distinct personality, name, background, psychographic and demographic, like enabling, and he has thousands of them. And he created an AI to create the AI, and then he uses them for like he can have conversations with 1,000 test clients, and that cost him effectively nothing once he figured out how to do it. So there's no cost to experimentation, but entrepreneurs aren't like that's never been our arena or realm before. And what I think needs to happen is if you want to stay relevant in the entrepreneurial world, you need to have a nonstop, ever present, almost department for experiment. It's like what Buddy said. Buddy's like, I hired two guys, we were going to do this thing. That didn't work out. So I brought him into the fold with me and we're just working on a bunch of other shit. Like I actually think everybody needs an experiment department. You know what I mean? Like an R&D department, which by the way is a tax credit incidentally if you do it onshore. The government will pay you 100%, dollar for dollar, pari passu, if you're running any R&D and you can prove it, which is interesting and it tells you where their incentives lie. But I think that entrepreneurial experimentation is critical. And then stuff like what Dylan just dropped, like shit that makes it better. Holy crap, man, that's amazing. And it goes to the point that I make about experimentation being free. Clinton, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm at the wondering how I A, monetize, B, protect my experiment, and C, well, we'll forget C for now, but protect and monetize. Yeah. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the monetization piece, I'm really messy when it comes to this, man. I don't believe in planning anymore, to be honest with you. Like if we all sat down together with a whiteboard and on a level 10 plan with some EOS implementer and we talked about the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, I think all that shit, it's always worthless. And I know that because I've only been in 1,000 of them. You know, especially in my marketing days, like I've been in 1,000 of these meetings, and even pre-AI, people who make annual plans, I'm like, what? You know what I mean? You don't know what's gonna happen. Are you out of your freaking mind? Unless you're in a legislated environment where you know for a 100% fact, it never, ever, ever worked or came to fruition. So I don't mind quarterly plans, and I'd actually prefer goals to plans. And the reason I say that in terms of monetization is because that's what monetization is. A monetization model is a plan. You're going to the market saying, this is what this is worth. And, you know, I don't know about you, dude. I've never been right about that. Ever, never, ever once. Not once. Not one time in my whole life. Instead, the thing that has worked for me, and it only ever happens after desperation, is I ask. I'm like, hey, I know how to do this thing. What might this be worth? And you kind of go knock on some doors, and it's actually a really receptive, uh, uh, what would you say? It's something people are receptive to hearing, because it's honest. And like you have somebody who's willing to open their door and talk you through it. And they're always, it's a conversation of conflict because your incentives are not aligned, right? So they're going to try to push you this way and you're going to try to push them that way. And they're going to win in the beginning because you don't have case studies or pedigree or testimonials or, you know, all the whatever, but that's okay because they help you establish it. And then once you're establishing it, you get to go on the inside and you get to see, oh, wow, not only can I see where this is worth, I see that the value isn't where I was assigning it. A good example of that is at Solutions 8, so much of our real value came in just helping people set up and clean up their conversion tracking. If we did that, all their campaigns improved and worked. And so I could charge for recurring ad management, but we realized there's a whole layer of service where it was just digital plumbing. And we benchmarked a lot of our legacy and enterprise clients to that, but they had to sign a year-long contract because I knew where the value was. I didn't know that until I started working with clients. So I would, when you create something that really, really smacks, dude, I'd get messy and I would just go to people and be like, hey, I think this is a value. Does this work? And everybody in the world disagrees with what I'm about to say, by the way. So like I heard Hormozy lecture somebody against this and he's smarter than I am and he's made way more money than I am. So assume he's right. And I still believe do it for free. Like, why wouldn't we do that? You know what I mean? Do it for free the first time. It's like, who am I? You know, I mean, shit, dude, I've had 6 multi-million-dollar businesses. I've had 3 exits. I'm still doing shit for free. If I want to figure out how something works, my first couple of AO clients, we did them all for free. Why wouldn't I do that? Because otherwise, it's like if I take your money, I'm telling you I can achieve an outcome that I don't necessarily know I can achieve. So I like to build that bridge as I cross it. Anybody else have uh, opinions on that? Or
Well,
Clinton, you?
I mean, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to be leasing the main feature and then building out additional features for free, like to reinforce the partnership and keep it going in a positive direction. So, given the mission statement of this organization, I think that's the right play, but I don't know. We're not there yet.
Do you know what the corridor principle is?
No.
It's one of the best things I've ever learned from an entrepreneur perspective. The corridor principle says that Um, you cannot and will not identify the right opportunity or the right approach to the opportunity until you're in the corridor. Another way to think about it is until you're on the field of battle. And you'll never enter the corridor where you need to be, meaning you're always going to guess wrong. And so, dude, just do the first one. Don't obsess over getting it right. Just get out there, paper up with the client, have somebody that you're providing value to, expect to have like a little bit of iteration, and then just know that you need to be nimble and pivot. And if you do that, then you can kind of like you fail forward. I think that's the way that you fail forward. Brandon, you have input on that?
My biggest deals were doing it free first.
Yeah.
I mean, they turned into millions by just giving the value. And sometimes I would do it for months, just to know that what I had was great value to them. One of the questions I was going to actually ask you, and first was, goes off of your chart for, entrepreneurs making money faster and then AI is wiping it away. So for example, like you have say you're a web design agency, right? AI helps you do it faster. You're an experienced web designer. Do you charge less because you can now do it faster? And supposedly anybody else could build a website and undercut yourself. And it applies to being like, so AI helps a surgeon do a surgery in 1 hour instead of 4 hours. Are they going to do less? Are they going to charge less? And one of my other questions that piggybacks on it, because you own like a ad agency, right? I mean, Google tends to go up what, 15% a year on
Dude,
average?
we're in a traffic bubble and we can prove it.
Right.
The
So
cost
what
of
do you
traffic
do?
is not worth what people pay.
Right. But so did you pass on the increase each year to your clients, or what did you do in that situation? Because AI is like, make your conversions better. Well, I mean, it's simple and great, and you can study conversion heuristics and see what you can do on the same budget. But there is a point in time where Google's, your competition's going to price you up, and you're either going to drop in the volume or you got to pass on the cost,
Yeah.
or you eat the cost, and you don't last if you keep eating the cost. So what did you do in that situation?
I'll answer the second question first because it's an easier one for you to answer. I
Hmm.
sold in October 2022 with 200 clients.
Hmm.
9 months later, 200 had grown to 130. Uh, Everything that we did was effectively automated, and the entity that bought me, God bless them, they didn't know how to respond to it because nobody did. They didn't know how to adjust. And so we lost, 70 clients in less than a year. No fault of theirs per se. And dude, no prowess to me. I got off the boat at the right time. Like I was just lucky.
Yeah.
I knew that me and my business partner talked about it. We were like, in a couple of years, we're in trouble. I didn't realize it was less than 12 months from the point of my exit. And we had a really difficult time because I was still tied to that company. I had a 2-year earnout. There was a bunch of money on the other end that I never got. Um, my answer, which the people that bought the business didn't like, was to tie our service to the outcome. And especially in e-commerce, that would have been really easy to do. And they didn't like that. We were billing by spend. And as we mentioned earlier, that didn't align incentives with my clients very well. So the point that you're making, it was a massively flawed model. And it
Mhm.
only worked in an upward trending economy. And I just lucked out that I was in an upward trending economy for a decade. And a downward trending economy, I was on the chopping block. And I know that because a lot of my friends have been on the chopping block. So I had a flawed model, and I'm just the lucky guy that let go of the hot potato before it exploded. If I still owned the business, what I would have been doing is some level of participation play with the clients that were survivors. Because it wasn't just us that started to fall, it was a lot of our clients too. And my business partner, John Moran, who some of y'all know, did this. John, I don't know if he wants me sharing this actually. So maybe I won't. I won't share specifics. What I will say is 200 clients paying you a fee can and in some instances will be demonstrably worth demonstrably less than one or two clients who you partner with for equity. Um, and that's the way that I think to go is it's a performance-based participation. And that has more or less been proven. So intuit what you will from there.
100%.
Um, your first question was, uh, do you charge less? And that's a question of tension, dude. I always think about it, you can't push a rope. And so if you're the design agency and you're crushing life and you find a way to improve the efficacy of your output using AI and you still have the time horizon, which would mean leads in the pipeline, prospects in the pipeline, people that are ready to close, people papering up, people paying you money. I think for as long as that takes place, you continue to benefit from and profit from the arbitrage. But the thing to do is to keep your head up. It's like when you're driving. When you're driving, everybody looks one or two cars ahead of them. You're supposed to be looking hundreds of feet out ahead, is what they say. Like, I only know this because I went to driving school because I kept getting speeding tickets. We don't do that in business. We don't look months out ahead. We're like, oh, like next 90 days looks great. And so I think the tension is when you start to identify like, oh wow, the demand is softening or price concerns are increasing. I do believe that you want to be first. You want to be first to market with the innovation, which would be, hey, check out what we can do. The thing that I like about that though is it almost always allows you to move the fulcrum of monetization further down the line. And the thing that I think agencies should be doing, and this runs counter to all conventional wisdom, um, pre-AI, the niched agency was the most profitable agency. I had 40% margins when I sold. I maintained 40% margins for 2.5 years. I was cashing $2.5 million net to me to the bottom line when I sold my business. I was putting $2.5 million in my pocket. Like that's a great living for me, dude. I drive a 40-year-old Honda. Like you know what I mean? I've got 40% little agency. It was awesome. And that's because we niched down. In a post AI world, niching, I think, actually commoditizes you. What I would tell agencies to do is the idea of vertical integration before your clients. You know, so there was a bunch of things that niche agencies don't do. I think now, especially because AI allows for more scalability, I would grab with both hands, you know, and then I'm asking things like if you're doing website design, who's doing your ADA compliance? Are you represented in Europe? If so, are you GDPR compliant? What are you doing for site speed optimization? What are you doing for AEO? What are you doing for, you know, and you start inserting all these other things, and then you get to play hub and spoke general contractor, figure out which of your vendors are performing the best, replace them with internal services in order to increase your margin. I think that's the way to build an agency. Um, and that's my opinion, dude. I mean, I could be really wrong. Um, but I've been mildly successful in this space. The agency space is the dumbest business model to be successful in. Like I was just not smart enough to crack SaaS or ecom. How was that for an answer? Did that feel dismissive or was that?
No, no, that was spot on. Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, Dylan, you got your hand up?
You're on mute.
Thank you. I think to tie both Clinton's and Brandon's topics together, I think the question, how do you protect your idea, is very interesting, and I don't think you can. I think that speed is all that you have, and it goes into that
Speed
curve
is the
that
moat, dude.
like
You're right.
move fast and cash in before whatever your thing is just natively done by AI, and they don't need your application. They can just type into ChatGPT, because that's um you know, I would always say like, you know, if you can't tell people about your idea, then it's not your idea. You know, if somebody can take it and do it better than you. Um, but then just last week I was like, man, I don't want to tell anybody this because they're gonna take it and do it better than me. Uh, so it's a like ideas are becoming rapidly replicable, particularly with like um, the example prompts they were showing for OpenClaw were absolutely ludicrous. Like I had no idea that people were using it in this way. Like design a robot gripper that can grip these objects and provides pictures to it. And then it like spins up the simulation software, makes the thing in CAD, runs the simulation,
No way.
sends you a video of the simulation and says, "Oh, it knocked over the cup of water. Let me go back to the drawing board." Like it was absolutely insane. Um, uh, yeah, okay. Clinton said in my case, one hallucination could ruin someone's life.
Mhm.
Human intervention is for sure going to be a thing. Like I think Qasim, one of his stories was that California has already done a law that certain things require um, human intervention. When I was like exploring the agent handoff, agent communication thing, like within its plan was already including human intervention capabilities, like that this is a stopping point. Um,
Well, dude, that's a moat unto itself. So many people and companies are leaning into kind of this AI only. If you're willing to say, this is a quick aside, but at Solutions 8, we had a group of people in India that listened to and scored every single phone call that we catalyzed. So I have $100 million in ad spend under management. Half of that is e-com. So say $50 million is meant for lead generation. And I don't know what percentage of that ended up being phone calls, but it was something like 10 or 20%. So we're getting, I mean, call at least $5 to $10 million in phone calls a year. And I've got a team that listens to those calls and does sentiment analysis before sentiment analysis existed and said, was this a good lead or was it not? And we did that because if I fed the good leads back into Google, it optimized my campaigns better. And what most agencies did would say any call that lasts longer than 60 seconds is a good lead. So not at all scalable, horrible, horrible job. The way that I hired for it was always really funny. Um, and it made us the best agency in the world. If you're willing to do what Dylan just said, if one bad problem, if one hallucination ruins somebody's life, then maybe there does need to be somebody. And you can do this because of the way that the international labor market works. You could have a human sitting there looking at, and you get to decide what it is, right? Is it like 1 in 10, 1 in 100, every one of the outputs? And now you just have some level of statistical modeling on the back end where you can say these are our risk mitigation factors. And it's not that we won't make mistakes, we will. It's that I put more, I always like the rule of three. We had 3 levels of security when it came to checking client spend, and I still made really big mistakes. We had, during my exit, we spent 50 grand of a company's money we shouldn't have spent because the problem got past all 3 layers of checks and balances, including human intervention. But having somebody there, that's the type of thing that I think would keep a company tied to you too. It's a pain in the ass to find the person, manage the person, supervise the person, etc. But that non-scalable endeavor is what sets you apart from all these like AI first or AI only solutions.
I think normal code has edge cases that could also ruin somebody's life. Like
For
not
sure.
just hallucination. Um, Clinton, is it possible for you to like define bounds for it? That it's like I don't know, if you tell this person to take 200 milligrams of Adderall today, that's like totally for sure not right, or like not really quantifiable in that way. I know it's not like
No,
medication.
dude, you know what that reminds me
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
Dylan? Go ahead, Clinton.
So it's not unbounded math that I'm doing. It's very much applied math with those hard boundaries and edge cases. But I put all the work into managing those edge cases and then updating them. So that's
Dude,
my
that's a moat
pitch.
for you. Every one of the edge cases you identify, isn't that something that somebody who built a competitive product would then also have to identify?
Yeah, very much. They would have
Bro,
to
that's
like,
proprietary F as far as I'm concerned. The evil
yeah,
marketer in me tells me, like, hey, I've been able to identify this many edge cases. It's actually the edge cases that are most important facet of this. It's my proprietary data. It's not something I'm ever going to share. But everything that we produce on your behalf is not only pressed against the edge case, but if we ever identify another error, it goes into our edge case tracking. And now all of a sudden
yeah,
it's like, oh shit, I can't recreate this. This guy's already done all this. He has this library of like risks that he's mitigated against me.
yeah. This is, I mean, it's very much like inside baseball, but
Yeah.
absolutely. It's I'm on that side of the table also.
And go get yourself business insurance. Dude, everybody on this call, if you don't have business insurance, it's 2 grand a year. I go to Hiscox. I'm not an affiliate. They have bailed me out more times than I can tell you. It's absolutely worth it. And they'll do business liability insurance on most industries. And for what you get, it's effectively free. Dylan, your hands up.
On the topic of speed, getting your application into the hands of the client as fast as possible is gives you a huge advantage because the client will or the user will use your application in ways that you absolutely cannot imagine. And then you'll be able to use that feedback and they'll use it differently than you do because they have a different perspective. They're using it like all day long and you're using it as like sort of intermittently. But there's a famous meme that's like the end user in the eyes of the developer. And it's a bunch of people with glasses of water. And like one of them is sucking on the side of it, and the other one like has it on top of his head. And it's that like people are going to use and abuse your thing, and you're able to build all of that in, and that just adds to the moat of, the work you've already put in to guard against these edge cases. You add in the edge cases in a UX sense that like whenever this gets onto this screen size, this button kind of hangs off the side and you get to move that over, and your competitor doesn't have that yet because they don't have users. So the fact that you were able to get like even start talking to a customer this early,
Oh,
I
dude,
think
it's
gives you an
huge.
advantage.
Yeah.
And so then the first customer is now your first piece of social proof. Like it's when you say who do you know here, you have an answer and you don't get thrown out. So yeah, getting it into the like getting them to use it. And also the person affectionately referred to as the bean counter, every criticism he makes is that's great. He is identifying a problem that you can now have a solution to ahead of time without, running face first into it.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
he's concerned about risk. Like that's I'm assuming he's concerned about risk, and you can now plan for all of those risks ahead of time, and you have answers for him. And then he becomes your advocate because you have satisfied him in every way instead of the one person that is standing between you and uh a contract.
Dude, what
So
Dylan just said is the reason that I like approaching the way that I do too, because if you're postured and you're like, this is the price, this is the process, this is who we are, now anything they identify as being wrong, they kind of get to call you to the table on. But when you approach them with, hey, I'm new at this, I'm figuring this out, and he's like, well,
mm,
what about this? You get to say, oh man, I never thought about that before. What do you think we should do? You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
and him
yeah.
are sitting together looking at this thing, being like, how do we solve this problem, buddy? As opposed to sitting across the table posturing as though you have all the answers.
Yeah, it's just like I know his clientele so well that I know those edge cases, and then it's also like I see the math being done by hand or by like app, like a calculator, a software calculator on the desktop, whatever the case may be, or God forbid a spreadsheet that could fail somehow. I'm eliminating the human doing the math and eliminating a lot of those problems that happen because of it. So I'm also speeding them up so that they're more relationship based situations.
Dude, it's
So
you know what it reminds me of? It's just the self-driving car versus cab drivers or whatever. Everybody, I don't know if y'all know this. I live in the Phoenix Metro, and the self-driving car killed some woman. Um, she like dove in front of it and it took her out, and it was like, "See, self-driving cars are deadly." And it's like 55,000 people a year in the US die in
mhm.
vehicular accidents, and the self-driving would drop that by 99%. So I think the point that you just made is a really cogent one. It's like it's not that we're error-free, it's that we decrease the propensity of errors and we have other guardrails around it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's part of the value add where I am speeding things up, increasing their workload capacity, and improving the relationships by reducing busy work.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I'm excited for you. I hope you get that meeting. Keep us posted on what happens.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wrap it up, fellas. I appreciate everybody who came, though. This was amazing. Dylan, Brandon, Elliot, Grant, Clinton, Buddy, Lauren, Kai, Tymek. Appreciate y'all for joining the Zoom. If you're watching live, you can hang out with us on Zoom too. Just sign up, dailysigh.ai. You can also get the Daily Sigh summarized and sent directly to your inbox daily or weekly. Go to dailysigh.ai. For those of you watching live, I see Monique Lewis, Militia. Hey, Militia, long time no see. I appreciate you being here. Uh, Olha, Foxtrot, Chris Kipper, JP, Gohar, Camillo, Lee, IG, Katie Smith. How are you, Earth Mother? I'm so glad you're here. Marisha, Gwen, Mark, James, Arbaz, Cornay Van Willigan. What's up, buddy? Techstack.com. Glad you're here, buddy. Sky, it's Danny, Drew, Nick, Christine, Tim, Joe, Syed. Dude, this is the most viewers we've ever had live too, which is super cool. If I didn't say your name, it's because I can't see it, because Restream only shows me some channels. Um, I think I did it, right? That's all. We do this every single business day at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in, sign up. We'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, I love you. I mean it. Bye, guys. Appreciate it.